Hello everybody and welcome back to the show, and today we are going to do a review on the Corsair Carbide Spec-04. Okay guys, so before we start, I just wanted to go over the case real quick. Now, in order for me to do a full-on review, like any review that I do on a case, I want to build it. So I'm going to build this. It's being built for one of my friends' relatives. They had an Acer Nitro Plus or whatever it was with a Core i5 9400F in it. And it was, you know, a decent machine, but it's not a very good machine if you want to do any upgrades. And in this case, you want to do some more upgrades, better video card and so on, and that little case just can't cut it. So what we did was we bought a new motherboard and so on, and we're going to put it all in this Corsair Carbide Spec-04. So on the side of this case, you have a power button, a USB 3.0, a USB 2.0, microphone input, headphone input, and an activity light. And and there's a recessed reset button, which is kind of nice. Now on the front, you're greeted with this really cool meshy area, and it's all ventilated, so this will work out really well for airflow. And there's a red LED fan in behind here, so give it that little accent. I gotta say, that looks pretty sharp. Now, of course, unfortunately, in this type of price point, you're going to be tin, not aluminum, which is expected. There's your inputs. Kind of neat that it's on the side so you don't get any of that look on the front. Kind of a nice accent piece for the price point. You have a beveled out side panel giving you more room for internal wire hiding. A full tempered glass side panel. And of course the back isn't going to be much different than any other computer. On the inside, so of course you can put a 240 radiator here. Looks like a 120 fan there. Just your regular cage area. Power supply goes here. There's no shroud, so it's going to be an interesting one to hide the wires on. Hard drive bays are right here, and that's your box of knickknacks. There's your red LED fan from Corsair, so it should be a decent fan. It doesn't have any real play, so that's good. And as you can see here, you can see the ventilation is going to be really good on this. The airflow should be really nice. So that's the input. You have two solid state mounts right here. And of course your 3.5s right here. It's very typical. You don't have a lot of room here, and I'm guessing that's why they beveled out the side panel, because you definitely need some more space here. It's very, here you have a little bit more space versus here I find very narrow. But other than that, it's tinny, but it's a decent looking case so far. So let's put everything together and I'll give you my overall thoughts on the case. There's no extra solid state mounts on the back, so you just have the two that are here for the other side, which the connections are right here, which makes it a decently clean layout. In this case, it's going to be an M.2 and a physical, I believe, 2 terabyte drive down here. So let's see how it turns out and how clean we can make this thing still look and have a little bit of accent lighting, but not too much. Okay guys, so the build is done. I want to go over a few things. One, these are going to be cons, okay? So the cons are cable management is a disaster. There is no cable management. You can't hide cables on the bottom after you put a hard drive in because there's no cover going across here. So you can't hide anything. There's no way to hide anything. So when you're routing wires, I had to like stitch them in throughout holes that are going through the case to make it look kind of nice. So when the light's shining in, it gives it that effect that it looks good, and it does. It for what I could do with it, it looks pretty good. The protrusion, the bump out, they give you extra space. I still had to put the case down on the glass side, press down, and get the cover on. It's still a nightmare. It still was hard to, if you're trying to keep the cables away from any of the open holes to get rid of any eyesores. So that's my con right there, is cable management is really hard to do, but can be done with a little bit of work and time. Second con, fit and finish. I find that there's gaps between the glass and the frame. I noticed that it's not much, and it's not something that would bother you. It's just when I'm used to building something like a Be Quiet or whatever the case may be, and even some other brand names that I've used, even the Asa, like the Thor and so on, the glass was very flat to the frame, and I noticed that this glass kind of sticks out a bit. I can stick my fingernail between. Not much, but hey, at least it's more airflow, right? So there's another con. As far as room in the system, there's lots of room. There is absolutely lots of room to go with a bigger board or whatever. I think with a bigger board, it might be a little bit more of a nightmare managing the cables. This is a micro ATX board from Gigabyte on an Intel, so this is my first Intel build in a long time, but definitely my first Intel build of 2020. This is a 9400F. Maybe down the road I'll bench it against an AMD 2600X or something. They're about the same price point. We'll have to see. I went with the rainbow effect here with the lighting and everything for one reason. The whole front is, I had to add 2 more fans, and I'll explain why. Because of this big cooler from, wow, that's pretty close. Really close. And that's another thing. I found the depth of the system not as deep as it would be a Be Quiet or the Asa Thor or so on. I find that you are very limited. Like those heat pipes are almost touching this glass. They're not, but they almost are. And that is concerning with today's cases. In my opinion, it should be a little deeper. But that's nothing. I mean, it did fit, it worked. But you'll notice here that I'm exhausting the CPU cooler instead of pulling. So what I did, I created something different. And the reason why I didn't want to cover up his lights on his RAM, and this cooler would definitely cover it. So what I did in turn, instead of putting a fan here to basically cause turbulence, this is the exhaust fan now. So the cooler is pushing the air out, and I can feel a little bit of warmth. Not much, but it's more cool than it is warm, pushing out the back. Now the idea behind this is, I added, so the case came with a 1 LED fan like I had talked about. Well, I added 2 more RGB fans, one to give it a nicer look for the customer. I want them to enjoy the machine and the fanciness of being able to pull. Well, I got a lot of air pulling here, so 3 fans, and the 2 top and bottom fans are just on direct power. So they're pulling at 100%. Good news is they're not loud fans, so you don't really hear them, which is a bonus. But man, are they pulling air. So you can feel the air just coming out of this case. So the bonus here is 3 fans, the whole length of the case, with the mesh in the front, and I'll show you that in a minute with it lit, pulling right across the board. So all of the components, everything, including the video card, you're getting that extra wind, and then you have your venting down here, here, and here, and then the cooler's pulling it out. So I think that is going to work very well. I will do some tests and make sure of that, but it looks like it's a decent idea. Pros. Well, aesthetically the case looks really good. I gotta say, the case is looking pretty sharp right now. It's a nice looking case for 75 bucks Canadian, so probably 60 bucks or even less, maybe $55, $59 US. I think this is definitely a great case for that price range. Now, if I had to compare it to Be Quiet's case at the 500D or whatever, or the 500, then I would say no. And the reason why that is the Be Quiet case is about $100. If I had to compare the two, then the Be Quiet's definitely going to win. for numerous reasons, cable management, build quality, and so on. But overall aesthetics, this does look nicer because of that grill in the front, the colors, that gives it, you know, that gamer look, and that's what people are looking for today. Now, a few things that I noticed, like, of course, it's a very open case, right? So you see the power supply nicely. It's a thermal take. It looks really cool. So it looks nice. So people see it and it's like, no, it looks pretty cool. It's got some nice stickers. So it's not so bad. I don't like seeing the hard drive butt end here. That kind of bothers me, but it's not my case. And it's just, you know, those are some things to nitpick at. But other than that, it seems to be moving. It's a very high airflow case. So there's a pro right there, definitely high. Very easy build, and everything you need comes with it. The strap downs, everything. So I gotta say, overall, would I buy it for 75 bucks? If I was looking to save some money, yes, it does look good. It's very pleasing. Would I buy it if I wanted to spend, let's say, 100 to this price point? Then I would go with no. I think the case, there's a lot more cases like the 500 from Be Quiet, and so on. I mean, there's even some thermal takes at $100 that will annihilate this with the, you know, glass front. Now, the only thing that I would say over a thermal take at $100 with the glass front is you're killing your airflow. I don't care how they make them, little gaps here and so on. Be Quiet has the same problem as well, so I can't just say Be Quiet's perfect because it's not. I wish they had more airflow, and having it down here is not always the answer. This is pulling right directly from the front, and man, does it throw wind. Like, I can feel wind coming out there, and that's exactly what I like about this case. So there's a definite pro right there. For $75, I don't think you're going to get too many cases. They're going to be as high airflow as this Corsair Spec-04 Carbide Spec-04. We're forgetting a Carbide name, but it's got a really cool name, that's for sure. So guys, I'm just going to take the camera, I'm going to go around it and give you guys some views. I'm going to turn some lights off and show you it lit. Now keep in mind, the lighting has been added. There was only a red LED fan in it, so I did add the lighting to give it, you know, a gamer appeal.
Yeah.